Okay, thank you for staying with us on the program this morning. I told you a while ago we will be having a discussion that essentially centers on the race to 2023. Of course, that apparently talks about the presidency as to which region should produce the president come 2023. And people are saying 2023 is still some time from here. Let's focus more on governance and providing leadership for this country, especially at this very, very trying time that we're all experiencing across the globe. But it is what it is. Politicians will always politic. There's little or nothing we can do about that. But in any case, we want to look at the trajectory and then look at the ramifications for us as a people, for the government, for example, and for, very importantly, governance and development as well. I'm joined by two brilliant gentlemen to help us make sense of the discussion this morning. From my immediate left is Barrister Matthew Ede. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
I wish you the same. Even though I didn't see you with a hamper or something when you walked in.
It's never late.
Okay, next to him is not a person than Christopher Ojekere. He is a public affairs analyst and he helps to build context and perspective to many of the issues that we discuss here on our programs. Thanks, Chris, for coming. We appreciate it.
Good morning. Happy New Year, viewers.
Okay, let me begin with Matthew, who, by the way, hasn't been here for quite some time now. But I know you've been following development in this country, whether it's politics, economy, or social issues. But for the benefit of our focus today, we want to look at politics, especially as it has to do with 2023. 2019 is still fresh in the minds of many people, by the way. I mean, whether it's the election itself, whether it's the government that's in place now, especially at federal level, for example. People are still trying to wrap their heads around all of these issues. And then now you have the pandemic in front of us, which has come with a much deadlier strain. And then you have people now saying, well, we have to move this way, we have to move that way, we have to strategize for 2023. Is that ill-timed?
That it is ill-timed is a very mild word. It's worse than that. It is an unnecessary focus on something that is that ought not to have been priority by those.
So it's misplaced.
Yeah, misplaced priority. That is just it. That's the better word. For want of a worse word, we are settled for a misplaced priority. It's actually worse than that, because leadership is all about responsibility. If leadership have lost focus of the reason why they are elected to occupy public offices, then they begin to engage in this wild goose chase, like planning for the next election, while the smoke of the immediate past election is here to settle down. Leadership is not about occupying the office for the purpose of acquiring privileges. 90% of leadership is responsibility. Privilege is all about just 10% in a responsible society. 2023 is many years away from now. The 1 year is a very long time in the life of a nation and the people. We have not fared well in terms of leadership, delivering of services as expected of them. Now, these same leaders who are lacking in providing the essential services for which they are elected, today we are still talking of decaying infrastructure. We're still talking of widespread insecurity. It has even got to the state we are living one day at a time as a people. We are not sure of the next moment. Then we are not looking at the crawling economic situation. In all of this, in the midst of all these myriad of problems, somebody had the time to be fantasizing about 2023. Why don't you utilize the mandate you have been given now and give a good account of how you utilize it to qualify you to even nurse an ambition in future elections, to bypass what is on ground, immediate responsibility, to be looking at extra mandates is the height of political insensitivity. It's an irresponsible political conduct. And in fact, any leader that is engaging in such act of frivolity has definitely expressed his unfitness for that office he occupies.
Some persons have expressed, I mean, I'm still staying with you, Matthew. Some persons have expressed surprise because let's say there's already a rotational system in place. So, I mean, there's this understanding that this region does 8 years, this other region does 8 years, for example. So it just rotates ultimately. They are now wondering how it has become a debate that you are, I mean, on the one hand, the Southeast is saying, we have never had our turn, it's our time, I mean, give it to us. And the Southwest is saying, well, by 2023, the North will have had 8 years in government, I mean, as far as presidency is concerned. So it should swing back to the Southwest. In the middle of that, you have people who are now saying that there's also a grand arrangement going on for power to come to the South-South, which of course is a minority around here, you know, in 2023. And then you wonder, why do we even need to have this debate anyway? Because there's always been that subtle understanding of how power should rotate. So what's the dynamic that makes it different?
That is exactly what I'm saying. If they are convinced that there's a convention, it's rotational.
Yes.
Why are you debating what is already established? Why are you opening it up for unnecessary debate and distraction?
It's not possible because it's not constitutional, so there's no legal framework.
Why don't they wait for the time to be ripe for such a discussion? Whether it is rotational, whether it is static, whether it is hereditary. These are issues that should be kept for the electionary period. The fact that we have started covert or overt campaign 4 years or 3 years to an election is the height of irresponsibility, political recklessness. It's as good as saying we have nothing to do. Let us engage ourselves with this distraction. Yes. That's what the nation are doing. A nation that is bedeviled with this multitude of problems should even have no space for political projection. They should be thinking of how to fix the mess. Will 2023 come with a magic wand that will solve the mess we are in now? If we all die before that year, who will they rule over by then? If this mass killing is going on unabated, will there be a country to even talk about in 2023? Where bandits can go into a school and adopt the entire school population of students, and you go and tell us you have been able to bring them back? The very fact that they were taken away is enough shame on us as a people. We are not talking of the bandit taking over all our highways. We're no longer talking of the kidnapping that is becoming a national occupation. Then, in the midst of all that, a political class will have the temerity to be discussing how to occupy future offices when they have not shown their worthiness to occupy the current ones. It's an insult on our accessibility as a people.
Okay, Chris, there's something here that's of concern as well. There are people who believe that for the most part, it is a number of governors who are actually, I mean, certain governors who are fanning these embers of 2023. As a matter of fact, as I would love to call it for the purpose of this conversation, the Umahi element is right there in the middle of the discussion, because they are saying that many of the governors are ambitious for 2023, regardless of region, and so on and so forth. How much of impact does that have on the focus of these governors to sit down and do the job for which they were elected by their respective states in the first instance?
All right, I think I will just attempt some contextualization so that we will know the point of departure of Matthew, and then the point of departure of the other groups, so to speak.
All right.
It is important that we classify the discussants and those who are engaged in 2023 discussion and politicking, as it were.
So apparently there's a distinction.
Yes, there's a distinction. I agree with him 100% that it is irresponsible for any government that has hardly sat down to a particular tenure for which it was elected to start to discuss the next election, which is 3 years away. But by that same token of agreeing with him, I want to point out that that irresponsibility of the current government, that failure, which is not 1 year but 5 years of the current government, led to inertia, cynicism, and complete melancholy, loss of hope of members of the political class, members of the civil society, the general public in the present administration. Some people in Nigeria actually believe right now that we do not have any government in place that is interested in the welfare of the masses, that is interested in development. And they believe, like me, that to be a pretense, to continue to pretend that we begin to hold the present government responsible and accountable to developmental issues, when for 6 years it has refused to show any semblance or interest, for that matter, in heading toward that trajectory. So it is that cynicism, that loss of hope, that has now led other classes to start to look beyond the government as a way of dousing their attention so that they don't explode like the NSAS. The youth who are not connected in these discussions were the ones we saw on the streets that day for NSAS, because they had no other way to vent their feelings and ventilate their feelings of hopelessness and despair. And so they said, let us change the whole system. And they thought they would do it by wiping out the entire status quo from inexperience. But those who have the grace, like he and myself and other people, to begin to now discuss so that people can begin to look forward towards hope, towards the fact that, okay, in view, there will be something new. There will be a governance in place that will give us hope. That is why the discussion started. And that's one part. As you rightly put it, members of the political class, perhaps not directly from the topmost position, but within the class of governors and political actors within that class, are also discussing it. Whatever is their motivation is subject to different interpretations. Some say for their own personal ambition, because some of them want to be president. The very fact that they want to be president, and even from the ruling party, is a clear admittance that what they have in place is not good enough for the people. And then the opposition must discuss it now. Because presidency, for instance, is not something we wake up, halfway through, and then we want to go for it. It is something that we need time to build up a structure, to build up network, to build up engagement, and to put before the public and in the public space alternative policies, alternative trajectory of governance that the public will look at to say, okay, well, I think we are seeing something here in the opposition. Now, as you mentioned, Umahi is becoming more vociferous. There are a section of the country, and I'm one of it, that believe that the northern oligarchy are thinking ahead of the south by many distance, by a very long distance. And it does seem to me, from what I'm seeing of Umahi now, that they already had this plan. We're just beginning to see it because it's unfolding before our eyes. But we don't want to be as docile and as obtuse as we had always been in the past, and then suddenly they spring something on us. I think that they are looking for a pliable southerner. A southerner that they think has the sentiments and the sympathies for Buhari and maybe the North to plant on us, so that if the time comes, when push comes to shove, and the South are saying it is Southern presidency or nothing else, they will produce for the South a presidency they have already tutored and mentored. And that's why you are beginning to get the kind of sentiments you are seeing on TV now, where he's saying people from outside are coming to destabilize the government and all of that. Now, this was in the song only till a few months ago, till a few weeks ago, actually 1 or 2 months ago, after he declared. Now, so the point is this. We also saw how suddenly some APC governors and some other persons who are sympathetic towards that same agenda all gathered in Goodluck Jonathan's house. And the efforts they went into trying to deny that they went there for political reasons gave them away. You don't have to deny and begin to insist and propagate that you didn't go there for political reasons. If you went there seemingly to condole with him as you thought you went, one explanation was enough and you let it die. But people are not fools. Grapevine information come out to us that Jonathan is another candidate who they think is pliable from the South that they can impose on us. Now, my worry in all of this is this. Even as at now, when Matthew, for instance, thinks that it's too early, not for people, not for the generality of people, but for the government in power to start to discuss it,
right.
The generality of people in the South do not have in front any leader or any candidate in our aspiration that we think is strong enough to go into the context of national politics and bring the presidency to the South and demonstrate competence. These conversations about presidency started from the North, not even from the South. It was Yerima. I took note of it at that time, and I mentioned it in this.
Former Zamfara State Governor.
No, Yerima, the Arewa youth leader,
Okay.
who said it about 2-3 years ago, that the presidency was going to retain in the North because Buhari has not favored the Northerners. And from that moment he said it, I became very watchful. Because every time the North want to forward an agenda, they speak through the voice of Yerima or through the voice of any other youth or young one like that that is in a strategic position. And then, if you watch them down the months and the years, you begin to see that innocuous statement manifesting into a well-planned and now orchestrating, agenda. So when he said it that time, I was going to watch out for it, and I'm saying it now. Many other voices are beginning to join. And then you are seeing a situation where, in my opinion, the plan is we either get a northern president to continue after Buhari, because truth to speak, the North also have not benefited from Buhari's government. So they are saying that Buhari's period is a waste to the North and to the entire country.
That's what they think.
That's what they think. And that's why they think that they now need a northern president that will benefit the North. But Buhari government benefited the Fulanis. Buhari has given the Fulani so much leverage that today a Fulani boy can misbehave. I gave an example in this studio of how a boy in Ramat Park beat up a girl, injured him, a Fulani boy. And when he was accosted by the people to treat the girl in the chemist, the boy was defiant. And then when he thought that they wanted to be hostile to him, he ran across the road into the barracks. And he came back with soldiers. Well, as I said here, he came back with reasonable soldiers, who when they saw the battered state of the girl's face, now told him to go and treat, her in the chemist. And he did that. And that's their attitude. We cannot pretend about these things. They are here defiant of the laws, defiant of authorities, constitutional authorities, because they have protection from security agencies. It's an agenda. They boast now, almost openly, that they are in every nook and cranny and that they can overrun us when they want to. Miyetti Allah has not pretended about that. When Amotekun was being formed in the southwest, Miyetti Allah said they are going to activate all their cells around the country, and that since the Amotekun have decided to form, they are going to form their own, and around the country, that the whole country belongs to them, they are going to activate all their cells, and we are going to have it. So there is a militia part of the agenda. Now, that is why I think that why will we continue to hold the government accountable and continue to emphasize the fact that for 6 years it has done nothing, and we are not seeing in view any plans in place, any projection in place that is going to do anything for Nigeria? We must immediately begin to think of alternative government to take over from this government. And
by 2023.
By 2023, and that alternative government must come from the South.
Okay, having said that, Matthew, it's your turn now. A lot of persons say there's nothing really new about this whole thing. I mean, regardless of all the agitation, all the energy, and all of the razzmatazz that we see right now, because it is still, for want of better words, a pendulum between the APC and the PDP. So the question will be, naturally, at what point will the narrative change for the better?
When we say this has been the tradition, this has been the political culture, the next question we should ask is, where has it led us?
Over time.
Yes. If Nigeria at this time and age is still talking about potentials, a nation that was ahead of Malaysia, ahead of South Korea, ahead of major countries now, is now struggling as the poverty headquarter, capital of the world. Is that a thing a tradition we want to continue with? I think if you begin to do one thing again and again, and you are expecting the result to change, that is the definition of the madness definition. There's no other thing to add. If you define madness in that light. So how are we expecting to exit this myth by taking the same route and apply the same formula we have been applying that led us here. So if all we have been doing is politics without direction, power for the purpose of power, and solely for the occupant of that position, not for the people, not for the system, improvement, then we have signed a pact with retrogression as a society. And that is not the vision of a responsible nation. As we speak, we have deposits of crude. Is it not laughable and strange that we are the major importer of the finished petroleum product? Is that the kind of vicious circle we want to continue to call a tradition? And we don't see that as an aberration? It is this abandonment of leadership responsibility for politics for the sake of power that has led us here. Whether South or not, nothing has dramatically changed positively as far as the input of leadership to where the people's living standard is concerned. This zoning rotation is all about the political actors. Like he rightly observed, Buhari leadership did not even benefit the North. If you look at the number of people that have been slaughtered in the North, if that is what you call benefit, then I forbid that kind of benefit to be allocated to my region. So if North has a president in power, and even Buhari's Katsina state is now more of a funeral headquarters of Nigeria.
A number of persons could have died there, but it is not a funeral headquarters. We know a lot of things have happened that naturally would have embarrassed the president, especially the kidnap of the 344 boys that happened right under his nose. Yeah, but it has, I mean, we don't have a basis to call it a funeral headquarters.
The killings going on in Northwest, of which Katsina is located, Zamfara and Katsina. Right. The killing going on there, when I say funeral headquarters, I know what I'm talking about. You might be talking of Northeast. The killing in Northwest is almost as good as in numbers as the ones in the Northeast. Most of them are unreported, but there are people there. Are you not watching the protest in Katsina? You think they are doing so because they want to protest? They have been choked. Bandits in that region are now becoming an alternative government. Are you telling me that is not worrisome enough in the home state of a commander-in-chief of a republic? At a time they kidnap his village head, Daura village head, and they have to pay ransom to get him off the kidnappers then. Is that not enough reason to say that this presidency, as we speak, has not even benefited its home state in terms of real benefit? You might be rewarding or patronizing some individuals or some groups like Metiala and the rest of them. But when you look at the percentage of those who are victims of this administration, lack of security problem, you will not want to say the North has benefited. But coming to South, I want to pick a point from what he said, that South have to cripple fast. Where the Southerners asleep, are they academically, intellectually disadvantaged? Are they politically naive? Or they deliberately decide to impose themselves a situation of inertia, only to be reactive instead of being proactive? Again, we are looking at the issue of politics for the sake of politics, as it's rubbing off on the psyche of the Southerners. Why will a Southern politician, for instance, wait for none to float an agenda before you start reacting to it? Is there any written or unwritten law that South cannot initiate a project? So if they are saying they want to start now, is it a new territory? Are we newborn babies that are learning to walk? Are we capable of thinking ahead? Or are we too slow to act fast, even within the shortest possible time? Can we create an agenda and fast track it within a short time and get results, as sophisticated as we are intellectually in the South? So this whole idea of the South should do it this way, North is trying to impose, I no longer subscribe to that argument.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you something else that people are concerned about. When it's election time, come 2023, God giving us a life, for example, you see other parties springing up. You see actors springing up from different parties, from different groups, and so on and so forth. And then election comes and it's done with. Everybody goes back to hibernation of sorts or something. People are saying, is it not possible to carry that same momentum that same energy, that same vision, all through that period into the next election, for example. Like I said a while ago, as it stands right now, it's just a pendulum. It's a two-horse race, as it were, APC and PDP. Yes, you have different other parties that came out to contest the last election in 2019, for example. Where are those parties as of today is the question that many Nigerians would ask. Where would they be by 2023? Of course, there's a pretty good chance they'll pop up again and participate in the electoral process. People believe, overall, from those I talk to especially, that if those parties stay through from one election cycle to the next, it will likely alter the status quo for the better. You don't share that sentiment, do you?
We are trying to engaging ourselves in shadow chasing exercise by thinking that those parties are real parties.
Are they not?
They are not. They are pseudo parties. They are the fingers of these two major parties. They are fingers attached to the hands, these two arms. Just like this arm has 5 fingers. This is how the parties are.
Yeah,
APC fingers, PDP fingers. It's all you are calling separate parties. If we carry out a surgical operation and you want to injure treat those parties, you will be injuring the owner of the parties politically. They are funded and floated by these two major parties. That is why they are seasonal parties. What happens? They are thrown up. Close to election, they say we have realigned. We are adopting the candidate. You think it's coincidental? No, it's not a coincidence. It is part of the politics of voodoo, the voodoo party will be playing. There is no ideological framework for those parties to lay claim to independence from these two parties. Financially, they are funded. In terms of even picking the persons to head those their party structures, it's also done and planned by these two major parties. So an average voter should not even pay attention to those disguised parties. If you want to be politically active and be useful with the vision of trying to make an impact, don't even go and swim with those floating objects.
Including yours, for example.
Let me tell you, I was in ADC.
Right.
We genuinely believe that there was a need for an alternative platform.
Were you a finger of one of these parties too?
Yes, I later discovered. I won't lie before anybody here. This is a public TV. I resigned from that party when I discovered that even Obasanjo and the rest of them were already holding meeting with Atiku group. Or that became Atiku, CUPP and all of that. So I said we are back to square one. If this is the reason why we were asked to get an alternative platform and the alternative become part of the original, what alternative is that?
It's called merger and acquisition in banking.
Then if you are merging with something you don't believe in, are you not endorsing or ratifying that which you rejected? Then what is the rationale for a person who is not dishonest to keep saying you are patronizing what you don't like and it is now good because you are patronizing it? You are patronizing it. You are only deceiving yourself. The audience watching will say, what kind of magic is this? You say this food is not tasting good. In fact, it's poisonous, it's toxic. You throw it to the dogs. You say, let's get some good meal. Why that one is on fire? You are running towards the refuse dump to be eating what you have thrown away. And you say you should be taken serious. That's insanity. Unless you explain to the audience that you were being dishonest, you admit dishonesty, you have nothing, no story to tell.
Okay, we have so much of stories to tell going forward on the program this morning. But quickly, just to remind you, we're taking calls at this point, so you can also lend your voice to the conversation. But please, let's stay civil and no need to cast aspersions or sling mud on the program. We're talking about the 2023 election and how the parties are being busy now, having that conversation, and individuals within the parties as well, and other groups are doing the same, all in the name of 2023. And in the middle, Nigerians are asking, everyday Nigerians are asking, what exactly is happening to leadership in this country while we are at it? I mean, doing all of the politicking regarding 2023. The number will be on your screen in a bit, and then we'll start taking your calls as quickly as possible. Let me turn to Chris again. I mean, Matthew just mentioned ideology, for example.
Yes.
That doesn't seem to be a regular word in our vocabulary as far as elections and politics are concerned in this country. You go to the so-called advanced democracies, even media houses, for example, like ours, they are aligned with ideological conviction.
Yes.
But it's an entirely different kettle of fish in this part of the world, what they call now the global south. And then you're wondering, what makes it so difficult for political parties to adopt ideological basis? What we see is just Matthew is tired of party A, moves to party B. Tomorrow we come to say hi to him. He tells us he has moved again to party C. And then you're wondering, what is the motivation for such a movement? I mean, you hear of defection, you hear of decamping here, and you watch other democracies, you hardly hear such words. You see, for example, in the US, a guy like Colin Powell, I mean, this is a guy who carries the Republican convention in his DNA. He comes to tell you, I'm a Republican, but I'm not voting for Trump. He doesn't leave his party to do that. He's still in the party. He votes against his party man. Because for him, it's country first. In our case, you even hardly even hear the so-called party chiefs talk about ideology. Is that deliberate?
Well, even the Powell example you gave shows a limitation to ideology.
Okay.
But ideology has its place, and I'm going to try and explain the point of departure from there, which is Powell's example you gave,
right.
Starting from there. Now, those traditions you mentioned, those nations you mentioned, they have a long tradition of intellectualism. The African tradition, or the African society, doesn't have that long tradition. Western Europe and America and North America trace their present structures democratically, I mean politically, academically, to the Greek tradition,
Right.
classical learning, and then they brought it and they had that long tradition. So over time, those traditions evolved into ideologies before they started to be antagonized by ideologies coming from the East, Mao, Chairman Mao, and all of that. Now here, just when we started to evolve, so to speak, into nation states, we had the very unfortunate experience of having contact with another culture, the Western culture, who came in here, and rather than allow us evolve along our own tradition, and would have developed the African tradition and developed a long African tradition to build ideologies based on our worldview and our metaphysical landscape, they imposed their tradition on us, and that led to cultural conflicts and all the confusion that you have today. So the average African is, or the entire Africa is a mix of different other cultures of the world. So you find some places, some people who want to speak through their nose because they think that that's what makes them important. They want to be like Americans. You find others who had other cultures. You know, if you go to South Africa, for instance, it's a mix of India, China, and all of that. So, and that's why you find that today we've not found direction, because we are like fish out of water. For us to be able to develop ideology, our politics, culture, and tradition must be married. That's why we're looking for leaders that have intellect. Now, if you have leaders that have intellect, that understand, that are intellectuals, you don't have to go to all the schools to be an intellectual, that understand these things, you'll be able to marry all of these things together, and you create a new worldview based on our current and present realities. That was what people like Nkrumah was trying to do in Ghana.
I'm going to have to approach you quickly, Chris. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. I take the name.
Yes, welcome to TMI. Your name and location quickly, please.
Topic on yeah, I am Evans, Mr. Evans from Oluku side.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to talk.
Evans, you sound distracted. We might have to truncate your call so we can allow others the time to make their contribution as well. Just go ahead and make your calls. Please be sure you turn on the audio on your TV set, right? Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, please, would you be kind enough to raise your voice a little?
Okay, my name is Jeff.
We virtually don't hear you. It's just too low. We can't make.
Hello, good morning. My
Yeah,
name is Evans.
Okay, Evans, please go ahead and make a contribution. Thank you for calling.
Okay, what I want to
Evans, is still too low. Please, you might have to call again. Hopefully this time to be better. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Your name and location quickly, please.
My name is Terry Osawa. I'm calling you from Ichio.
Great.
And now, I don't intend to talk about national development directly, but there's something I want to point out concerning our governance in this country. You know, we have had a whole lot about ASU strike, 10 months. It's all part of governance and development. Now, we lecturers reached an agreement with FJ just about 3 weeks ago to suspend the strike, and then that they were going to stagger payment of reject salary over a period of, they will pay some, then before 31st of December, they will pay the second tranche, and then by January, they pay a third tranche. Now, the same federal government, led by President Muhammadu Buhari, has reneged on that agreement. Just an agreement reached just about 2-3 weeks ago. It has refused to release retail salaries for the second tranche. It has refused, so its government has refused to release the funds for revitalization as agreed. The government has refused to release money for end academic allowances. Now, the press, not particularly ITV, the media, has refused to bring this thing to the doorsteps of Nigeria, so public view, so that people will know, not that when ASU calls on strike again, because they are planning to go on strike next week, then friends at home, they need to blame us. Whereas nobody is talking to the government now. Tomorrow is not agreement that we reached just 3 weeks ago.
Osama, thank you for bringing this. Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing this to our notice. I mean, you sound typically, by the way, like a union person. I mean, with all the information at your disposal. But you know, I'd also say that if government reneged on this agreement in any way, to any extent, there was a chance that they could go back to where they're coming from, which is industrial action. Hello, good morning.
Okay.
Yes, welcome to the program. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, good morning. Yes, just go ahead and make a contribution, please. Okay, we can't really hear what you're saying. Hopefully you'll call back. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Oh, okay, I'm going to turn back to my guest. I mean, we'll still be taking calls while we're having this discussion with my guest here in the studio. You were making a point.
Yes, I said that's what Nkrumah was trying to do in Ghana.
In Ghana, right.
That's what Leopold Sedar of Senegal was trying to do when he introduced negritude. And that's what people like Thomas Sankara tried to do. He was taken out. That's what people like Julius Nyerere tried to do in Tanzania. That's what people like Ali Mazrou is preaching in his philosophy. Now, in Nigeria, what we have closest to that was the action group that later became the UPN. Awolowo was building a party on ideology. The UPN had a standard program. Whatever, wherever they won elections, whether in Edo State, then Bende, or whether in any of the states in the Southwest, you executed the UPN's program. You didn't have as governor your individual program, that is different from the program of the party. Because Awolowo knew that the moment you now have that kind of party programs and party agenda, and then you execute it over time, it becomes a tradition of its own.
Right.
And then the ideology of that party is known and built. But we have never succeeded in having any one party that has been able to nationalize that ideology. And that's why you see that people are talking about restructuring. Because of our heterogeneity, first in religion, and then in our thinking, and then in our worldview.
Right.
Now that's why you find that what you may consider to be ideology in the Southwest will not be considered to be ideology in the North. Because there, the ideology of the North is wrapped up inside their religion. They have even subordinated and lost their culture to the religion. The religion that came from the East, Madam Fodu, which is the Islamic religion. Now the ideology of the North is now embedded in the religion of the North. Their politics is also embedded in that.
Okay.
Yes, so it is going to be difficult to have national parties with single ideologies. And that's why we have not also been able to have what we call the Nigerian states, because of those deep-seated differences, which we all pretend does not exist, but which has been our real problem. So if we are ever going to have ideologies, it is after we restructure, so that regional thinking and regional worldview are built around regional ideologies or if you like, political party ideologies with regional, thinking.
Let me take a quick corner. I'm back to you with one more question before I turn over to Abathi quickly. The number is on your screen. Just go ahead and make those calls, but please, just so we can have smooth conversation, turn down the audio on your television set to make it easier for us to take all of those your calls, and be sure too that you're not calling in to grind an axe with anyone, by the way. All right. Hello. Good morning.
Yeah, hello, good morning. I'm calling again. My name is Izeko Evans.
Okay, Evans, thank you for calling back.
Calling from Ogida. What I want to contribute, talking about South or North, I think it is high time for us in Nigeria to really find a good leader. And the same leader should think about the ordinary people. The country is going out of hand. They should think about the ordinary people and forget about being powerful drug. I want to be the president, or I don't want to be the president. The country is really going back. They should all sit down together, think about the country, think about the individual in the country, and say, okay, we have been doing this wrong before, let's do it right now. So that the whole country will be at peace, the whole country will be in where the other countries outside will also say, this country has changed for good. It should not be all about politics. I want to be the president. No. Everybody should sit down together, reason well. And when you look at Nigeria, the individual, the ordinary citizen today, nobody will talk good of our leaders because of the way they are doing. It's hard time the leaders also look at the ordinary people. They should also sit down and the ordinary people should comment.
Evans, your point is well articulated. Thank you so much. We appreciate that contribution. Brilliant one. You're saying that leadership should be the priority, not about who gets what or which region produces the next president. But again, they say politicians overall are hardly operating at the same frequency with the people, which raises concerns naturally. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome to TMI. Your name and location, please.
Hello.
Okay, I'm sure you probably can't hear us. You talked about ideology, Chris.
Yes.
And sorry, you've talked about ideology already.
Yes.
Then you also mentioned something about restructuring.
Yes.
A lot of persons are saying most of these voices that we now hear,
Yes.
or talking about 2023 so vehemently, are going to pitch that idea of restructuring so much that a lot of Nigerians will buy into it because they believe psychologically that's one way they're going to buy into the hearts of Nigerians. Most Nigerians are now talking about restructuring. Of course, you can't talk about restructuring at this point and pretend about resource control, and those are very core elements in that conversation. Is restructuring really the problem of this country? Because it will appear a lot of persons are now exploiting it to advance personal agenda.
The truth is that how many people are committed to restructuring? Restructuring is not in tandem with somebody who has the ambition to become president of Nigeria in 2023. Restructuring is going to kind of reorganize the system, and it will take a little time for the system to resettle down into a restructured system. So restructuring as an agenda, as a philosophy itself, does not agree with the sentiment and desires and ambition of those who have immediate political interests. And that is why you find that every time an election is over, restructuring is on the front burner. But when we are approaching the second election, restructuring recedes, politicians take the stage. Where is the Afenifere group and the vociferousness with which they were speaking about restructuring just 2 years ago, 1 year ago? FFK, he was virtually on the media every day talking about restructuring until he started to have some idea about certain ambitions. The truth is, restructuring is the only way to go. It is, for me, ignorance for anybody to think that Nigerians are going to sit down and be able to discuss their way out of what we have on ground. It will take a miracle. I hope such miracle will happen. And this is why I say that. The North, represented by the Fulani oligarchy, have an agenda that is deep-rooted and buried in Uthman Danfodo's philosophy. And that philosophy is that they own the land called Nigeria, and that they are the supreme race that should rule Nigeria. Anybody who is pretending or think that that is something you can wish away or you can sweep under the carpet is wasting his time. They have to own up to that, and then they have to agree that that is not the case, and that they are just partners with other equal partners in the nation state Nigeria. If that is agreed, Nigeria will settle that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I think that settlement is what we want. Just
Yes.
one more call, and then I'll talk to Matthew about certain issues that were raised in the course of the week on a live television interview, but certainly not this station. But let's take this call quickly first. Hello, good morning. Yeah, welcome to TMI. Okay, I thought you were going to quickly tell me your name and then your location. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, welcome to TMI. Your name and location,
Yeah,
please.
we sorry, that's my name. I'm calling from my Wotobo.
Welcome to the program.
Yes, I've been listening to your program. You see, I'm listening to stuff that we are talking about 2023. Then we have a number of problems facing Nigeria. Politicians should be talking how to resolve the concerns of Nigeria. There's hunger in the land. There's insecurity. People are not just happy. Nigerians are not happy. So they should be thinking of how to alleviate the suffering of Nigeria, not to be talking about 2023. They are out for themselves, whether APC, PDP, or what have you. They don't have the interests of Nigerians in their hands at all. So I want to appeal to those of you who are in the media to let the politicians know that Nigeria is in great distress. They are killing everywhere. People are afraid to travel. During this Christmas, a lot of people did not travel from their places of abode because of insecurity. Where are we actually going to? It's annoying. Thank you so much.
Thank you too for taking our time to make that call and then lend your voice to this discussion. The number you should call is on your screen, but please be sure that you turn down the audio altogether. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Yeah, welcome to the program. Okay, I'm sure we lost that one. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, welcome to TMI.
I am Mr. Francis Mbete, calling from Abuja.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you, Frank.
I've been listening to that conversation, talking about restructuring 2023 and the rest. The restructuring is not even the problem of Nigeria because we cannot restructure Nigeria based on what is on ground now. The best thing for Nigeria is for Nigeria to sprint so that every different nationality or race should go their way. Because the different nationalities in Nigeria have no trust. They don't trust themselves. North does not trust the South. South does not trust the North. They have that country coexist that does not trust themselves. Let us break so that everybody go in peace. That is the only way forward. Thank you, my brother.
Okay, so your opinion. Thank you for calling through all the way from Abuja this morning. But Matthew, let's look at something here. Former governor of Ogun State, Chief Segun Oshoba, was on Arise Television during the weekend. He discussed several issues, including Amotekun, security concerns in the country right now. But more importantly, questions were asked to him about the 2023 issue and where the West or the Southwest stands. And he even mentioned a few names, amongst whom were former governor of Lagos State, Raji Fashola, because they asked him about who, for example, the Southwest could project by the time push comes to shove as regards 2023. And he mentioned one or two names as to people he felt were eminently eligible to vie for that office come 2023. Doesn't that already say that this stage is set for, as it were, a political bout between the South and the West, or between the South, the South and the North? But in the South, in this context, being the South-South, the Southwest, and of course the Southeast, because if somebody of that stature could speak along that line, it already means that some resolutions have been reached at one end of the country.
You did not mention the names.
He mentioned Fashola, for example.
And who was the other person?
Then he mentioned a few other names that were not very not very loud as far as the political stage is
We would have
concerned.
loved to hear. Who does it?
Okay.
Maybe you don't want to divulge that. But then, Olusegun Oshoba, like you rightly said, was a former
Governor.
leader.
Okay.
A country that has been led into a dungeon in all facets of human endeavor like Nigeria should not be patronizing those who led us to this terrible situation or state. Those who misled us to where we are now should not be the compass to lead us into the future or out of it. If they had a vision where Nigeria ought to be, they wouldn't have led us to where we ought not to have been. For people like Oshoba now, the rest to become moral compass again, those who failed us are now showing us the way to success. A student, a graduate who failed to make who failed to graduate properly. You failed. You want to be the teacher. What will you produce?
Maybe you can teach from your experience of failure. So who knows?
You can only teach failure because if you know how to succeed, you will have to succeed first.
Of course.
If I am a very bad footballer, I can't be a good. I can't teach you how to play good football. If I'm a terrible boxer, I have never won any. I am not in a position to say I want to coach you how to win bets.
Okay. But you can coach me on how not to lose.
How to lose is what I can teach you, because that's what I'm good at doing. I've lost all my career fights. How can I teach you how to win? If I knew how to win, I would have won at least one or two. So, this idea of this status symbol is killing Nigerians. You don't have to be former this, former that to be future this.
But people say experience is quite
The
valuable.
experience is useful if it can yield a result. If an experience that was so terrible, that was disastrous, is what you are transmitting to the next generation, you are only trying to spread the cancer. What is experience if it is useless? If I don't know how to cook good meal, I can't teach you how to cook well. It's simple. It's as simple as that. That's the logic. If you are a daughter of a mother who is a horrible cook, and you learn how to cook from such a mother, it's natural you'll be a horrible cook, unless you have to break away from that and learn your art of cooking. So it is just a white goose chase for you to think. Those who failed us will teach us how to succeed. We should discard this idea of former this, former that, former this, former that, if we are thinking of a better Nigeria and a future Nigeria.
But those are the people who have the resources and all the connects. For example, that naturally poses a challenge. When we talk about youth vying for political offices in this country, one of the issues that usually would come to the fore is how that the youth themselves, for the most part, don't have all the money required to run for these offices, because democracy, in particular in Nigeria, is quite an expensive venture. We know of people, for example, who were told had gone to the banks to secure facility to fund election campaigns, and they turned out not winning those elections, and the rest is history, as they say. So these are people who have established themselves on the scene for years, even dating back into the military days, for instance. How do you break that jinx? It's not going to be as easy as it sounds.
It's not also that difficult as you paint. It might not be too easy, but it's not also too difficult. It's simple strategic thinking.
I think there's a middle ground.
Because, like I kick against this party they create to distract attention, to avoid massive mobilization of the people. When they balkanize the political stage, then they streamline what they can control. That is why they create those users. I mean, I don't want. They're
not useless. They may not be prominent and very visible, but they are players on the scene.
I wouldn't say they are useful, because I like they are not useless, but they are not useful. They
are useful at some level, at least to those.
They are useful to those who funded them.
Exactly.
And that is not the usefulness.
And they change the narrative, whether you like it or not. They are going to be on the stage and do all of the debates, for example, and flood the place with their posters.
It becomes a message of alternative platform. They end up falling into the same line. They deceive us was not good enough.
But according to you, that's where they come from.
That's it. That's it. We should not be our political culture. Now, coming to how it can be done.
Yeah.
It's plain and simple if we are focused enough as a people. Don't join parties, those pseudo parties. Go to the main parties. Infiltrate. You have the numbers. Don't try to start from the top. Penetrate from the bottom. Every party stand on it, but it's a pyramid. If you control the base, you determine what happens at the top. If all of us go and pick up party cards and register at the ward level, unit level, we actively participate. Nobody becomes a gubernatorial candidate unless it's so nominated. Nobody becomes a state chairman unless it's so nominated and projected. If the younger generation now come together, if you trade these two major political parties and play active role, not this passive role, waiting for one leader to come and tell you to go and do that and do this. I'm loyal to a leader. You should be loyal to your interests. That is the first thing to achieve. Loyal to your interest and vision. Then when you populate the party structure and you determine to become ward leader, who becomes local government leader, chairman of the party, who becomes the senatorial leader, you have taken over the party.
Can we ever win the war against money bag politics?
You are winning the war, you are losing the war because you are selling your rights. If you don't sell your rights, it will be intact, it will be with you. So I'm not telling you that it's not an impossible task. It is the willingness that is lacking, the will. If we are determined, if we are pained that we cannot continue like this, then we have to change our orientation and our value system. Let the younger generation of Nigerians enter this political party and play active role, prominent role, and not role of going to sell your rights or bury your interest behind one recycled leadership arrangement. You should go there and displace them. It's because the so-called money you say they have, the economic muscle, they achieve it through political offices and using politics to corner out the benefits and the opportunities. It got to a point where you want to get employment in this country, you have to know a political figure. And you cannot become economically empowered if you are not having access to economic opportunities. And politics and economy, they are not like CMS twins in Nigeria. If you want to be a contractor, a successful one, you must align with political personality. Who will award contract? Who will recommend you for contract award? It's not so in other clients where we want to emulate, which we want to emulate. So if we penetrate the political structure and control the structure, we will also control the economy.
Okay, you were
And
just
liberate ourselves from this economic backwardness as a generation.
Chris, you were going to throw in something a while ago. You were going to suggest something about middle ground.
Yes, and then he mentioned it. Participation is middle ground. There are a lot of people, and I have even seen it from the few calls that have come in, with due respect to the callers. The attitude of we, them, they should be, as long as you are here, passive, as long as the elite class, the intellectual class, the developmental class are passive and saying they should, the situation is going to continue to remain like that.
Degenerate.
Participation. I'm going to use example of Edo State, and I don't mind using it. Godwin Obaseki is a technocrat. Even till today, there is no doubt that his thinking and trajectories of life is technocratic. And then he entered into politics with the determination that he was not going to play politics the way he has seen it played. That he believes that he's going to impose his ideologies and his thinking, which is developmental, on the politics. Now think of 20 such people entering at the same time in 2016 into politics in Edo State.
You mean in 2023?
Yeah, 2016 was when he became
Okay.
Yes, and in respective positions. And then they identify themselves, and they are in leadership positions. I said, look, this is where we have to go. That is the only way you can change it. Participation. Sitting down at home and saying this will let them, who are the they? The they you are referring to have their own value system. They have their own worldview and thinking. And everything they are going to do is going to be influenced by their value system. So you are not going to sit down and say Nigerians should. They are not. That is why they have not been able to do it. But when we flood the political space and then we go in there to participate, developmental minded people and progressives will so identify themselves. And I'm not placing any age bracket on that, because age bracket does not affect your value system. There are young ones today who want to become multi-billionaires without having any culture of work. Their parents did not inculcate it. They are very happy to sit down and steal money and go to the next hotel and spend it. But there are some youth who will have the same opportunity but will not. They want to work and earn it and get that satisfaction that they worked and earned it. That's the culture. That's the value system inculcated by the parents and whatever other channel of education that they have. So developmental minded people are developmental minded people. You have them in the marketplace. There are women in the marketplace, and you see one once the place organized. The other one doesn't care where they throw litters. These people must identify themselves, enter into the political space, and insist that this is the trajectory we want for our political space in state. This question of leaving things to a few people to run, that's what I'm saying just now about the South. And that's what he was saying. Now, you leave it to some people to take the decisions. They're going to take the decisions. The country is not going to come to a standstill. There's not going to be a vacuum. Some people are going to take decisions. So we better stand up and take the decision. And he was asking, why should we be waiting for other people to bring an agenda and then you are reacting to the agenda? And I read the meeting of PANDEF, Middle Belt leaders, Ohaneze, Afenifere. They were reacting. That is during the NSAS. The northern governors, the Arewa people had meeting with their northern governors. And then we were reacting and saying, what if we have our own meeting with our governors? You have to ask for permission to have meetings with your governors? There's no proactiveness of thought. There is no vision and objectivity of where we want to go. We are expecting a magic wand to come from nowhere, and we will not be the participants. Then it will just change things. There have to be participation with an agenda, with a determination, with a clear focus that things have gone back. That's why we are not talking about things that have gone back again. It's speaking for itself. Everybody in Nigeria, educated, illiterate, knows that things have gone back. Now, what do we do? The solution. And we are trying to dig into the root. It has to be a holistic change, not an amendment. So there must be participation. We must rise up and participate.
Okay, naturally, this is that point where we're going to just to draw the curtains on the program this morning. But let me give 1 minute each to my guest in the studio just to have a final word. Actually, Matthew, there's no closure to this conversation about 2023, really, because apart from the vehemence, this whole discussion around 2023 looks pretty much like a vehicle that's on a downward, on a descent, in some cases maybe with bad brakes or something, because it's full throttle all the way into the election in 2023. We're in the middle. Where does that leave us as a country? Because it will appear not much of development is being discussed as compared to the energy we're putting into the discussion about 2023 presidential election.
Like I earlier said in the course of the discussion, Nigeria is bedeviled with multitude of problems. Insecurity, economic downturn, lack of infrastructure, name it, more than I can mention here. I will liken the Nigerian political class to a captain of a ship that developed a fatal problem. There's a hole on the ship, and the captain is beckoning on the passenger, let's go, get on board, let's commence this journey. That ship is going nowhere unless you fix that hole. The Nigerian ship is sinking, and the captain are telling us 2023 is the destination. How we get 2023 is determined by the fate of the ship. Can we travel in a sinking ship and expect to arrive at destination?
So in your words, the earlier we fix that
we
ship,
fix
the
the
better
ship,
for
yes,
us.
otherwise we may not even find it. This country may not meet 1983. 2030 may not meet this country.
No,
in one piece.
2023 needs to meet this country and all
May
the people,
not, I didn't say
and all the people in
from
it.
all the indices.
Okay, let me give you just a minute to also lend your voice as we conclude, Chris. I mean, this is a long drawn out issue. Apparently, the actors themselves are still very active. Most of them have a lot of resources. Then, of course, as we said earlier, you have 7 governors who are even part of this whole drama as we know it right now. But in all, Nigeria will not remain the same for whatever reason. Ultimately, on account of this development about 2023, which has now become a special year for reasons we are yet to determine, because people outside of Nigeria will be wondering, why is 2023 so special? Have they not been having 4-year election cycles in this country before that? But ultimately, what do you see for us?
Well, as I was saying before the light went out, that's the fear to facing what I'm supposed to be seeing for us is what we have now. But we are going to have to arrive there, where decisions have to be made.
Tough ones, I guess.
Tough decisions will have to be made. Because the South will want to know the moral justification that the North has to say they want to continue to sit on that saddle. And then, people like El-Rufai, who we know are plotting in the North, are sparing nothing to ensure that the presidency comes there. But as I said earlier in the program, they are probably also thinking of alternative. So we have to get there. And because we are going to get there, we should all be alert. And we should all begin to fashion out how we are all going to participate and ensure that whatever happens when we get there, Nigeria remains in peace, which we all hope for. Or if we are not going to remain in peace, there's a restructuring to be done. I don't agitate for separation as the man in Abuja, but I think we can restructure and have a very weak center, and then you have heavy regional blocks, more like what we had in the First Republic with some level of modification. Now I think the sixth geopolitical zone for me is just a good way to start. Now power will be devolved to these geopolitical zones so that we can have less to deal with within the region and more resources to deal with those problems. Each region is able to stand on its own, and then there's going to be, you know, a healthy rivalry where every region is going to have to now look inward at the potentials it has. That is what is likely going to happen in 2023. But if we're going to remain as a federal system the way we are now, then it is only equitable and right that the North would be gentlemanly enough to say, let power go to the South. Let's see what the Southern president can do.
Okay, that's how we dock on the program this morning. Thank you so very much, Barrister Matthew Legese, for also coming to talk with us.
Thanks for having me
on this program. We also want to appreciate Chris Ejekere for your very salient thoughts on this matter this morning. 2023, well, some people say, practically speaking, just 2 years from now, because by this time that year, everything else being equal, a lot of politicians would have been campaigning already. So much facts would have been established, in the next 2 years and so on and so forth. But in all, Nigeria should be the priority. It should be for, in the overall interest of Nigeria, whatever it is we're doing from now up until that time. Gentlemen, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much
for coming. That's our program for you. Remember the views of our guests, their opinions, coverage here on ITV continues. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.